In 2013, Josh Gordon led the entire NFL in receiving yards. 2 years later, he was banned from the sport. Not because of injury or because of his age, he did it to himself.
Y'all ain't getting me to feel sorry for nobody like that. It's millions of dollars, and all you have to do is stay off the weed. And you can't do it?
And if you think you already know how this ends, think again. Because what you're about to find out is something most people have never heard. Back in 2012, the Cleveland Browns used their second-round pick on Josh Gordon, a wide receiver from Baylor who hadn't played football in over a year. He was 6 foot 3 inches tall and over 224 pounds, ran a 4.52 40-yard dash. Minimal expectations, maximum upside. Right after Josh Gordon was selected, one NFL executive texted a reporter and said, "Desperate move." Wow. And for good reason. Cleveland was trading away what was basically a second-round pick in the 2013 draft for a kid who got kicked off his college team. But when they watched him play, it all made sense. Gordon broke off press coverage like corners weren't even there. The footwork was clean, and he attacked the ball at its highest points. Against defensive backs, he was playing a different game. The kind of receiver who made average quarterbacks look functional just by running his route. Browns GM Tom Heckert went on record saying Gordon would have been a top 10 pick if he'd stayed at Baylor, and the talent backed it up. So in his rookie season, Gordon caught 50 passes for 805 yards and 5 touchdowns across 16 games. It was solid production. Not elite yet, but you could see what he could become. The flashes were there. He had everything: talent, opportunity, and the paycheck.
Wait. We gonna go deep. Got a man open. He's got him. Josh Gordon for the touchdown.
So what went wrong? You probably already know this story ends badly, but you don't know why. So 2013 rolled around and Gordon wasn't even on the field for the first 2 games. He was suspended for substance abuse, and the Browns went 0-2 while he sat at home. When he finally came back in Week 3 against Minnesota, he caught 10 passes for 146 yards and a touchdown. Cleveland won 31-27, and the next week against Kansas City, he put up 132 yards on 5 receptions. By November, the entire defensive scheme was getting built around stopping him. And then, something ridiculous happened over a 4-game stretch. Against Cincinnati, Gordon went for 125 yards and a touchdown. It was a good game, nothing crazy yet. But then, against Pittsburgh, he caught 14 passes for 237 yards. That was a Browns franchise record. The following week against Jacksonville, 10 catches, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns. Another franchise record. Then, against New England, 7 receptions, 151 yards, 1 score.
Look at this kid run. Josh Gordon!
774 yards in 4 games, an NFL record beating the mark Calvin Johnson set earlier that same season. Gordon became the first receiver in league history to post back-to-back 200-yard games. In just those 2 weeks alone, 498 yards. By the time the season ended, he had 1,646 receiving yards in just 14 games. League leader, first-team All-Pro, Pro Bowl selection. The only one of his career. He was 22 years old, and people were saying his name in the same sentence as Randy Moss and Calvin Johnson. Nate Burleson, who played alongside Gordon, said it best. You only get so many guys every few years that redefine the position. There's Calvin, there's Randy, Josh is one of those guys. The comparisons weren't hype. Gordon's 2013 season lined up with their best years, except he did it in fewer games with worse quarterbacks. If he kept this trajectory, if he stayed healthy and locked in, Hall of Fame wasn't a question. It was inevitable. But there was something happening off the field that almost no one knew about yet. Because Gordon wasn't just dealing with the pressure of being that good. He was managing it in a way nobody around him understood. And the way he coped with the anxiety, the fear of failing, the weight of those expectations, it wasn't sustainable. It never had been. But the pattern didn't start in Cleveland. It went back way earlier than that. Back in October 2010 at Baylor, Gordon was found asleep in a teammate's car at a Taco Bell drive-thru at 2 in the morning. Police found substances in the vehicle, and both players got charged with misdemeanor possession. The charges were eventually dropped, but Baylor coach Art Briles suspended Gordon anyway. Gordon served the suspension and came back for the 2011 season. But by the following summer, Briles suspended him indefinitely for failing a drug test. Gordon transferred to Utah, sat out the season, and also failed another test, never playing a game. The Browns drafted him anyway, and for one full season, everything held together. In the summer of 2014, Gordon got arrested for DWI in North Carolina. Blood alcohol level 0.09. The legal limit was 0.08.
Cleveland Browns wide receiver Josh Gordon arrested for DWI after a Raleigh cop pulled him over on Glenwood Avenue this morning.
A month later, the NFL suspended him for the entire 2014 season for failing a drug test. He tested at 16 nanograms per milliliter. The league's threshold at the time was 15. He was 1 nanogram over the line. Now, here's the context most people miss. The World Anti-Doping Agency, the group that runs Olympic drug testing, uses a 150 nanogram threshold. That's 10 times more lenient than what the NFL was using. Major League Baseball's threshold was 50. Gordon lost an entire season over 1 nanogram above a standard most of the sports world thought was absurd. The suspension got reduced to 10 games when the NFL changed its policy mid-season. Gordon came back, played 5 games, and caught 24 passes for 303 yards. There were no touchdowns. In January 2015, he had another year-long suspension, but this time it wasn't for substances. It was for alcohol. After his DWI plea, Gordon entered the league's substance abuse program. One of the conditions was that no alcohol was allowed. After the season ended, Gordon had 2 beers on a private flight to Vegas. He thought the restriction was only during the season, but it wasn't. The league was still monitoring him, and when they tested him, it came back positive. Ray Farmer, the Browns GM, released a statement. "We are disappointed to once again be at this point with Josh. Throughout his career, we have tried to assist him. Unfortunately, our efforts have not resonated with him." And just like that, the entire 2015 season was gone. Gordon applied for reinstatement the following January. The league denied him in March because of another failed test. By July, they conditionally reinstated him, cleared him for training camp, but suspended him for the first 4 games. A week before he was eligible to return, Gordon checked himself into an inpatient rehab facility in New Hampshire.
Cleveland Browns wide receiver Josh Gordon announced Thursday that he is checking into an inpatient rehabilitation facility to seek help for substance abuse issues.
His statement: "This is the right decision for me, and one that I hope will enable me to gain full control of my life." The entire 2016 season went by, and he applied again in March 2017 and was denied in May. Later that same year, the league finally reinstated him conditionally that November, and he played the last 5 games of the season. 18 catches, 335 yards, 1 touchdown.
Has a man under it, has his man Kaiser, touchdown Cleveland.
Hugh Jackson, the Browns head coach, said before Gordon returned, "His return will be like Christmas." When Gordon finally got back on the field, Jackson added, "I never lost trust in him. I think the health part for him is really important, and I get that and respect that." But most players after one ban would do anything to stay clean and get back on the field. Gordon didn't, and that tells you everything about what he was really fighting. So what was actually happening? Why couldn't he stop? In a 2017 interview with GQ, Gordon finally gave the answer. "Initially, it started for me because of a lot of childhood and adolescent trauma-based fear. I didn't want to feel anxiety. I didn't want to feel fear. I didn't plan on living to 18. In 7th grade, when he was 12 years old, Josh Gordon started using pills, substances, whatever he could get his hands on. Not to party, but to survive. The day-to-day life, what's going to happen next? So you self-medicate with pills, with whatever helps numb those nerves so you can just function every day. That became the norm from middle school to high school.
Xanax, many occasions, cocaine, several occasions, marijuana, most of my life. Codeine, cough syrup, promethazine, very prevalent from where I'm from. You know, it's what I grew up using.
By the time he got to the NFL, substances weren't a choice anymore. They were part of how he functioned. And here's the part that connects everything. Gordon admitted he'd never played a snap of football sober. Not in college or in the NFL, and not during that record-breaking 2013 season where he led the league in receiving. Before every game, he'd leave the team hotel, go home, eat breakfast, and go through what he called his little ritual: using, drinking. Then he'd drive to the stadium. When the reporter asked if he played under the influence, Gordon said, "Every game. Probably every game of my career." When asked if he was highly functioning, he didn't hesitate. "Highly functioning, for sure. I definitely pushed the limits. I don't know how I did it." You forgot why you clicked on this, didn't you? Gordon did the same thing. He forgot why he was playing. The game stopped being about football. It became about managing anxiety, and surviving the pressure was the only way he knew how. This isn't a story about a failure of willpower. It's a story about what happens when talent arrives without the infrastructure to support it. Hugh Jackson said he respected Gordon's need to focus on his health. Pete Carroll said Gordon's work ethic and attitude were great the whole time he was there. But assistance isn't infrastructure. Gordon needed help managing something that started when he was 12 years old, and the NFL's system wasn't built for that. They could suspend him or reinstate him, but they couldn't give him what he actually needed, which was a way to exist in that pressure without needing to numb himself first. In December 2018, Gordon was with the Patriots. He released a statement: "I have recently felt like I could have a better grasp on things mentally. I will be stepping away from the football field for a bit to focus on my mental health." The NFL suspended him indefinitely that same day.
Josh Gordon facing once again indefinite suspension for violating the terms of his reinstatement under the substance abuse policy.
The cycle kept going. He got reinstated, then suspended again in December 2019 while with Seattle. His attorney later revealed the suspension came after Gordon's older brother died in November. The grief triggered a relapse. In 2021, the Chiefs gave him another chance. 12 games, 5 catches for 32 yards. The following year, the Titans signed him to the practice squad. 2 games, 0 receptions. They cut him in October. But by September 26, 2024, Josh Gordon announced his retirement at 33 years old. 11 seasons in the NFL with 77 games played total. He missed entire years in 2015, 2016, and 2020. If he had played 16 games a season from 2014 to 2020 at his 2013 pace, he would have added over 11,000 receiving yards. Instead, he finished with 4,284. When Gordon reflects on it now, there's no bitterness. "It feels liberating to have that chapter of my life end," he says. Hall of Fame, having it all, that was the goal, but life deters it, things derail it, and you bounce back as best as you can. "I'm not worried about what if anymore. I'm focused on what's next." Josh Gordon didn't destroy his career because he didn't care. He destroyed it because he was trying to cope with something that started long before anyone knew his name. And by the time the system figured out what was really happening, it was already too late. Josh Gordon's career ended at 33 with 77 games played and 4,284 receiving yards. Not the Hall of Fame ending anyone expected, but the one he made inevitable. If this story hit different than you expected, drop a comment below. I want to know what you think. And if you learned something you didn't know before, hit the like button. It actually helps more people find this. If you don't want to miss the next one, hit subscribe.